Sure. First of all, always excited to have you guys here and join us each week. A little bit about, really excited about last week's outcome in terms of this team has continued to practice the right way. And every week we go out, I say this, that this team is a little different than any team I've coached. And I want to make sure I emphasize how proud I am about the way they've the mindset of this team. I think they understand how important it is that we continue to stay focused on the process as well as the progress. And when you make small changes, they typically add up the big shifts. And I saw that, as I said Saturday, I saw our team grow up right before our eyes. And I saw the younger players, and I saw some of these guys that have had a tough go the last few weeks grow up, and that's what you want to see, incremental improvement every game. That's a little bit of a part of the investment that I talked about a week ago, investing in the longer-term changes that will make us better, that with each player, each coach, every decision we make being focused in an effort to find ways to create success. And our players continue to do that each and every week, the way they practice, the way they come out, the way they don't do it perfectly, which is why, that's our jobs as coaches and staff to continue to do it. Some of the things that I like to highlight, you look at Billy's play. I talked a couple weeks ago about Billy, and he's a big driver of all the things that you continue to see. He has an incredible mindset, great production when you look at him, and then the thing I think that really jumps out to me is the character. I mean, his leadership. This team believes in Billy as our quarterback. He's 10 in the country in passing yards. I think he's tied for first for the most completions. It was good to see Caden Prather have a big game for us on Saturday and really show up. And we've challenged Caden the last couple of weeks. He's put the work in on the practice fields, but challenged him to be dominant. And I thought he did a really good job of making some plays for us. And then when you talk about Octavian Smith and some of the plays he made, we've all seen what Ty has been capable of doing. But Saturday, I think you really saw KP and Ock prove once again that they're also playmakers for this offensive system. Excited about this opportunity against Minnesota on the road. As we know, it's always tough. As it's been highlighted, every week you see teams really struggle when they go on the road in the Big Ten because it's a tough league. But I expect us to continue to put the work in this week, show up Saturday, continue to do the things we need to do to improve against a good team. And I know it's their homecoming, so it'll be a great crowd, a great environment that I know our players will be excited about. I'll end by talking a little bit about, I know there have been a lot of people that ask about these hoodies and the throwbacks in the last few months. And, well, it's now time. It's time for us to release these, and Maryland Athletics and Under Armour in conjunction with the One Maryland Collective are going to release these throwback hoodies. Finally, it's great that the timing of it couldn't be at a better time. The gear is exclusive to the One Maryland Collective. People that join it will have an opportunity. I know it's limited. You have limited number of these things to be released, so I strongly encourage for everybody that's been sliding in my DMs asking about the throwback hoodies. Now is the time, as One Maryland Collective will now launch these as you become members. And I know they have a lot of different ways of whether it's the T-shirt with the throwback on it, whether it's the sweat hoodie, but they'll all be available for the fans that want to get in on this. So it's a great way for Maryland fans to own something that's unique, as well as help our program at the same time. And I know our players are excited about what the One Maryland Collective has been able to do, as we've been able, through the One Maryland Collective, from the football standpoint, to go out and really do some good things in the community on gun violence, education, mental health awareness, literacy, and then drug and alcohol prevention, which our football team, those are the 4 pillars that they have gone out around this community. And now, as a member of the One Maryland Collective, if you're fortunate enough to get on while supplies last, as they say. So jump on it early. Our captains for this week, Josh Kaltenberger, Tajay Johnson, and Roman Hemby will serve as our game captains as we go up to Minneapolis this week. with that, I'll open up the questions.
Good afternoon, Mike.
Dave, are you guys closer to me than normal?
I think we shift around. It's like the San Andreas fault.
Right?
Yes.
You guys want to get in line for these sweatshirts, huh?
In theory. You guys lead the league, lead the Big Ten in passing yards per game. Minnesota's number 2 in the conference at stopping the pass. What have they done defensively this year that makes them special on D, and what are they going to cause for you guys?
Yeah, you know, they're secondary. The 2 corners, and I know number 2 is a transfer in there, and really got good length and kind of reminds me of a Deontay Banks type of skill set, man. They both really twitchy guys. You know, their scheme, they know who they want to be. They're going to be a under team, field under. They play man. They play middle field close coverages, as well as some split safety coverages. You know, both those guys are really talented man-to-man cover guys, and when you watch them, they play man against all the teams, SC, North Carolina. So they're a team that wants to have a safety in the middle of the field. They're a team that will challenge you at the line of scrimmage because they're trying to take away the RPO stuff. Really sound on defense. I think they're top 10 defense, man, and they have been year in and year out, really consistent with their scheme. They're big up front. They got great length, athletic, and like I said, their corners have the ability to kind of play man, which allows them to load that box up to stop the run.
And 7 games into the season, most teams have an identity. What do you feel this team's identity is, and how different is the identity from what you thought it might be back in August?
I mean, it's what I thought. So, I mean, our identity is we're a developmental team that will get better incrementally as the year goes on. When you're inexperienced up front, you know, I say young, but it's more inexperienced than young at the offensive line. I see us getting better. I see some of, like I said, the decisions that were made. I saw some incremental improvement with us being on the right people a week ago and running off the ball a little bit, which happens. It doesn't necessarily happen because of the change. It happens because we get to go out and do it every day, and you'll get better by doing it. I think we're still the same team that I thought we were. We have great skill players. We're a little inexperienced up front and inexperienced at the corner position. But as I said Saturday, I also saw those guys start growing up, and couldn't have happened at a better time for us. A much needed win for our program to give it that shock of confidence that to help us kind of get our confidence back.
Mike, I know you've told us sometimes we have a tendency to make too much out of one game, but with that in mind, how much better does 4-3 look going into the second half of the season as opposed to 3-4?
I mean, obviously, it's definitely something that it's where we wanted to be, and so we accomplished our goal. We didn't get voted off the island this week, which is, you know, transactional. College athletics, college football is a transactional deal where it's, you know, what have you done for us lately? I like the way our team has continued to fight. It hasn't always been the results that we wanted, but as I've told them, we're going to try to stay process and progress oriented right now, and that's where we are. So if there's a change in anything, it's that let's stick to the process and the progress right now, and as we, you know, get into the meat of our season.
You mentioned small changes. Are those adjustments schematic, personnel,
Everything.
mental? I mean, a combination.
Everything. Personnel, staff, you know, play calling, everything. I mean, we all are. We always evaluating what we're doing and how to make it better. And, you know, the thing I told our team a week ago is that when you feel like things around you are all over the place, that's where you just kind of go and look into yourself and figure out what can I do to be better. And that's, to me, when I talk about the small changes, we're constantly, and when I talk about being a growth program, a growth mindset, we're constantly trying to figure out how can we get better faster. Because we don't have a lot of time. We know that. We got to get better fast. So the small changes, I thought we saw some incremental improvements in some of the things we made decisions on, and it's very atypical of how it happens.
Hey, Coach. Cam Edge transferred this week. I wanted to ask you kind of, from your perspective, working with the quarterback so closely and in the modern day of college football, how difficult is it to get a really good just backup quarterback that stays around? I mean, it seems like it's sparring at every year, or sparse in every year.
It seems sparse here or all over the country? Oh, yeah. I mean, it's tough, but we've had a backup quarterback. Billy Edwards been here for year 3, and, you know, it's just a matter of, and this is the great thing about what the new landscape looks like, because I have no problem with the decision that has been made. As you guys know, I don't talk about it a lot. When they leave, I let them leave how they feel they need to, and it should be that way because, I mean, these guys are 18 to 22-year-olds that are trying to figure life out, and it's a lot like, you know, going out and breaking plates in practice where things don't happen the way you want them to happen, and, you know, sometimes you fight through it and you keep persevering, and sometimes you reset and figure out like, that maybe this ain't the place, and that happens, whether it's coaches, players, I mean, staff. You know, when you're a program like ours where we're constantly in the growth mindset deal, I mean, everybody's looking for how can I create value, not just for the team, but for myself. And so some of the decisions are made, but it's the landscape, so got no problem with that.
And then can you just explain like what a backup quarterback's role is, whether it's through the week, on game day? What do you, especially now with guys coming cycling in at multiple schools, what does it look like on a
Kind of looks
week-to-week
like what a
basis?
student reporter looks like with a professional reporter. No, I'm not, man. You're learning. You're here learning, and you got guys behind you that have been doing it a while. And it's very similar. You wait your turn, you get better at it, you write your stories, you prepare yourself as if you're working for the job you want, which you do a great job of. And, you know, that's what a backup quarterback does. He prepares for the opportunity that isn't guaranteed, that you aren't guaranteed to get. And that's not always how this generation, that's why I said the landscape of college athletics is different, because they do have this ability. And I'm all for it, you know, because, again, I'm of the opinion that if a guy doesn't feel like this place is the best place for him, go find that place that fits what you're looking for. And you know what? Sometimes you make mistakes. Sometimes guys decide after a while, like, hey. And so it's a good thing, and it's one that I have no problem with.
As Gene mentioned, that you're 4-3 instead of 3-4. How important is it to maintain that momentum before you head into the second bye, and particularly the November stretch?
I ain't worried about all that. I'm worried about this next game. So as far as the stretch, the all that, this next one is the most important, and it's kind of been how we've approached it. The progress, you know, that we need to make is let's build on some of the things we did well. I think I talked to you guys about wisdom a week ago. That's the negative and positive experience you have that allow you to make good choices now. And so the wisdom that we've gained from the first half of the season, it's up to me to make sure that we take those things that we've learned, apply them to help us find a way to go up to Minneapolis and get a win. Now, all the rest of that doesn't matter. The only thing that matters to us right now is what happens when we go to Minnesota.
Hey, Coach. I
up, man?
talked to Ryan Davis a couple of weeks ago, and
To who?
Ryan Davis.
Okay.
And he kind of mentioned me the importance of the system you have in place, where it's kind of a marriage between strength and conditioning, and also the on-the-field work. Something that he hasn't necessarily. It hasn't been the case for him for his previous stops. Why do you feel it's so important to kind of have that marriage where whatever you're doing on the field, it's matched with how you're keeping the guys conditioning-wise and strength-wise?
I mean, it's, again, the philosophy of our program. I mean, speed is important, size is important, and then we have criteria that we look for each position. And when we bring guys in, you know, I've said this before, this generation is not a mass production. It's like these new sweatshirts that the One Maryland Collective is going to be putting out. They don't want 1,000 of, they want to be able to, we're only releasing 300 or 500, so everybody wants one of one, and I think the same thing can be said for when you bring players in, especially in this landscape. That marriage between the strength and conditioning room and the value it creates for them on the field, that marriage is natural, because if they're getting bigger, stronger, faster in the weight room, that usually translates to them making plays on the field, which usually creates value, whether it's them being able to be a starter, earn NIL dollars, or whether it's them being able to get drafted like we've had a bunch of guys do here the last few years. And you know, that marriage is one that has to happen. It's important because we complement each other in terms of, you know, we bring in the skill, he develops them. A lot of times the players we bring in are developmental guys that aren't the finished product just yet, but I think if you look at the way we've recruited, now that we've started to have a little success in our program, we've gotten some guys that maybe didn't look at Maryland the way they look at us now, and it's helped us, and it will help us as we continue to develop and grow our program.
Hey, Coach, how's it going?
What's up?
Can you talk a little bit more about Octavian's development?
Talk a little bit more about these throwback sweatshirts that the One Maryland Collective is going to put out today. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, a little bit more about Octavian's development that's kind of led him to being the number 3 receiver in this offense.
I mean, Octavian is a guy that, he played quarterback in high school up at Paint Branch for Coach Neesmith, and Coach Neesmith is one of those high school coaches that I can just remember, like, when I was a coordinator here, he was always around, always studying the game, and so when you look at the way the Paint Branch program has grown there in Montgomery County, and Octavian played a big, big role in that, as a quarterback in that system. He has great speed. He's been making plays like he made Saturday. I can think back to the NC State bowl game. That touchdown catch Saturday was eerily similar to that, and it's what he's capable of. And I've said this before, Oc's been banged up a little bit. When you have a speed guy like him and he's been dealing with a lower body extremity, that he's finally healthy. And we're finally starting to get him back to where he's close to 100%. And it couldn't have happened at a better time for us because, KP and Ty get a lot of attention. And when you have that guy that's in the slot, somebody's going to get a one-on-one. And to have that third guy as well as those young tight ends as they continue to develop, being able to have Ox production, especially the way he was productive for us a week ago. We're going to need that out of him this week, and he's had a good week of practice. He's been one of those guys that, as I talk about the transition from, like how Ty made that transition this year, I'm starting to see that out of Octavian in terms of how he's practicing, in terms of his development. You see him crafting and learning and really getting into crafting as a receiver, and it's starting to show up on Saturday for him.
And in August, you said he had some issues in the summer, maybe was behind the 8 ball. What has he done to kind of correct that and kind of earn his spot that he's in now?
He's changed his habits. He's created the winning habits that you need to have to make plays like he did Saturday. And it's just part of growing up, man. I keep talking about it, and I think you guys don't understand that you have to grow up. Like, they come in as 18-year-olds. I mean, you were 18 before, right? How old are you now? 21. So, I mean, you're not the same guy you were at 21 as you were at 18 when you showed up here. And sometimes we don't always give players that grace because there is an expectation now. And I get it, but it's my job as a parent and as their coach to protect them and allow them to grow at the pace they need to while still trying to figure out ways to speed it up. And I think Ock is a byproduct of it. Ty's a byproduct of it. Glenn Miller's a byproduct of it. It's just the way this program is set up that you'll see players continue to develop and grow and improve, which is what it's all about for me.
Coach, so I'm watching the game up here, and it's 28-14, and we're driving.
You gonna leave?
And, well, we were losing, and I said to myself, I know Lox is going to go for it, go for 2. What went into that decision, and was it just something you had said, I'm going to do this no matter what, because you said you wanted to take the day and try and take the win, and that, without question, that led to the victory.
No, I phoned a friend. I got online and called a friend, and I got online. He looked on the comments during the game and saw, like, Lox needs to go for 2 here. So that's why it took me a little while when they were reviewing it, and when I got the call back to say go for 2.
Votes might have been against you, though. In other words,
I'm just saying, I phoned a friend. No, I mean, we study it. I know that a lot of people think we don't know what we're doing as coaches a lot, but we rehearse everything. Just like you rehearse your questions and you rehearse your stories and you write them down and you make corrections in between before you get it to your editor. I mean, we do those things too. Unfortunately, every decision we make, you guys get to judge, and I'd like to, get to judge some of y'all's first writings that you write when you do your first story before your editor slices it up. You know what I mean? Let's put that on there. So we use the analytics of it. You're down 2 points, it tells you coach's decision, or when you're down 2 scores late in the game, you're going to have to go for 8, or at some point, if you want to win the game, you're going to have to go for 2, or you go to overtime. Well, I had made the decision that we were playing to win. I told our team, that's why we went for it on 4th and 3. I think Sam asked me, didn't you ask me that question about 4th and 3? Somebody did Saturday, but that's an example of messaging to your team, this is how we're going about it. We're going to play to win. We went for 2, had a great call, great successful scheme, got the 2 points, and it made it a little easier. So now you score the next touchdown, you win the game. If you didn't get it, you still had an opportunity to tie the game for going for 2 after the second score. So it's not a lot. It wasn't that hard of a decision because we rehearse it, we use the analytics. But I will also tell you that, you know, when the map and the terrain don't match, we're going with the what? The terrain. And so in the course of that game, we could have kicked it, tied it up, and went in overtime possibly. But at that point, for me to send a message to our team that may, you know, reverberate across the rest of the season, I think it showed that we were playing to win. Thanks.